Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the US Law Live podcast brought to you by the corporate partners for US Law. My name is Nick Roush. I'm a lawyer at the Larson King firm in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I'm joined today by my lovely co-host, Pamela Halford, out of the Carl Allison firm in Dothan, Alabama. Pamela, how you doing?
I'm good. Lovely is a very loose term for the way that I look, having just come in with my 6-year-old from the pool. It's like 900 degrees here. There are bugs everywhere. I need a shower desperately bad. But I first had to spend my time talking to Ginny Murphy from Sunoco. Hey, Ginny.
Hey everyone, hey Nick.
Ginny, we talked a little bit before we got started. This is your first podcast episode, I'm told.
It is.
Are you feeling the pressure?
I have a tendency to be able to chat with most folks, so I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Perfect. Well, Nick and I have done this a few times, and we always really enjoy getting to meet the different clients that come to our US law functions and that are part of the network, and the other lawyers that are part of our network. And then also, we speak to our corporate partners. So, thanks very much for joining us to do this. Did you have a big holiday weekend, Jenny?
We did. We kick off summer at the Jersey Shore. We have a small place down at the beach in New Jersey, and this is the kickoff of summer, so I enjoyed
Nice.
it. Yeah,
Are you feeling the angst of a short week the way that I am?
absolutely. It's
Trying
fresh.
to
It's fresh.
cram 5 days worth of work into four sometimes doesn't seem worth it.
And plus you're available 24/7. So, I mean, I guess what we do for a living, it's even if you're at the beach and you're looking at your email and you're trying to stay ahead of it. So the days just run together. It's just as I said to
Sure.
my husband, I'm like, I feel like we have dual lives. Like because I have the house we live in and raise our kids in that are near our offices. And then we go and we do the same thing, but in a different place. It's like, yeah.
Yes, for sure. Well,
Uh,
Jenny, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
well, thank you. First, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with US Law. So my name is Ginny Murphy, and I am the manager of risk and insurance litigation for 3 publicly traded companies. Those companies are Energy Transfer LP, Sunoco LP, and USA Compression Partners LP. Most people are probably familiar with the Sunoco logo brand and NASCAR, so that's what most of you know. But what does that mean? And essentially, what our product and what our company really strives to do is we are the largest distributor of fuel and natural gas products in the country. And so
Wow.
we have the products and we bring them to people so they can live their lives. And I think there's about fuel and energy products are contained in about 6,000 products that we all use every day. So sometimes it's hard to believe it's not just the fuel you're putting in your car, but it's your makeup, it's your sneakers, it's hospital supplies, it's
Right.
lighting, it's a big part of what we do. And so
It doesn't sound like there would be any risk associated with any of that.
None, none.
well, I'm a little competitive. If you're going to do risk, go all in, right?
That's exactly right. Now, how long have you been with this family of companies?
So, good question. I got into the insurance industry not too long out of college, and I started on the carrier side for about 10 years. I spent most of my career at Travelers doing large loss reviews as a large loss examiner for them. And then I stayed home for a few years and raised my kids, and then decided I wanted to go back and work. And so I went back into the business on the client side. So that's a good perspective for what we do and what I do. I've been in the business for over 30 years, 10 with Travelers, and about 24, 20, something like that with Sunoco Energy Transfer. Um, I guess I joined Sunoco in 2002. I know I'm so young, right? I must have been like 10 when that happened. In 2002, and then in 2012, Energy Transfer out of Dallas, Texas, bought this Northeast Philadelphia company that used to be a manufacturer of fuel and a lot of other things. And that's where we saw the companies change. So I've been with them. I always say I'm on the stepchild side of the house because we got bought, and I came up my email. Y'all see my email as Sunoco@sunoco.com. They've allowed us because we are two separate companies. They, you see the old timers on the Sunoco side, they'll keep their Sunoco mailing address, but I actually have both. So in 2012, we merged with them, and we continue just to buy companies. Our current CEO likes to both companies, Energy Transfer and Sunoco, constantly looking to expand what we do in our portfolio. So we're a national company and actually an international company, but it's claims wise, I used to be able to say that, I handle work nationally, which is a pretty big ask when you consider the type of claims that we have and the litigation that we have, and we're all over the place in courtrooms and trials, doing what we do. And some recent acquisitions and some activity on both Energy Transfer and Sunoco side of the house is, we've got offices in China. We just bought a company out of Canada that's in 26 different countries, Puerto Rico. I do know with the claims that are coming in from this new acquisition that I guess I'll have to learn a little bit about how Canada law is different than U.S. law, no pun intended.
Well, I hear it's wildly different. Somebody was mentioning that to me the other day. It seems like a bunch of US-based businesses are buying up like a smaller Canada-based arm, because I was at a US Law event. Gosh, it really wasn't long ago, and two different people were talking about that in the transportation space, that they had gotten involved with some Canada operations. And so I was able to connect those two. It was females in the transportation industry, so there's not.
Well, you got to connect me to the Canada folks in June when we're up there. So
I will.
Crash course in claims. So.
Yes, I will. And that's what they were just able to chit chat over cocktails about what was going on different in Canada than was here. So I'll definitely connect you in June. And for our listeners, Ginny is a avid user of the US Law Network, and we get to see her at several events in the year. But my favorite, because I get to see Ginny, is the Women's Connection, which is coming up in June, and we get to travel to Quebec in Canada. So be jealous, Nick. We don't need
So
a pool boy.
exciting, yeah.
I love it. I've seen the photos of it on the website. It looks fantastic. So I hope you two have a fantastic time there. I think Julia Lyons, I think from our office, will be going and we'll be there. So I'll tell her to connect with both.
Well, the first one I ever went to, I don't know what year it was, but it was in Maine. And all I told people when I got back, because I've gone to a lot of other ones, is it's the loudest group of 100 people you'll ever see.
That makes sense. That's on brand. That's good.
Oh, that's great. I love that so much. Ginny, you were talking about this recent acquisition before we got on board, and it sounds like it's going to be quite the bear for you and your team to incorporate in this new entity that you have acquired.
So we do have to do some research on to what the business units want to do with the acquisition, the parts of the acquisition, whether we're going to keep the stores. Like I said, they're in 26 different countries. They operate a model of gas station convenience store that's very similar to Sunoco, but we got out of the company operated store model back in 2018. We sold all of ours to 7-Eleven, so you'll still see Sunoco branded stations everywhere, but most likely you'll see a 7-Eleven operating the retail store. And we have an agreement with them. They just sell our fuel, and it's a pretty good business relationship. We did it all at once. We sold as many as we could at that time that the government would allow us to do. We have a great working relationship with them. I wouldn't surprise me, and I'm not speaking for the company here. I'm just saying, wouldn't surprise me if 7-Eleven had an appetite to try to buy some of them. If they decide to keep them, which they probably will keep some in our current model, which is dealer-owned, dealer-operated franchises, like sell our fuel, we'll bring you the fuel, and or distributor, which is a big part of our portfolio, where distributor locations, for those that are listening that might not know, a distributor is different from a franchise. Is distributors aren't on the property ever. Essentially, well, I shouldn't say ever, mostly never, but our terminal locations, which is part of our business model, is we have terminals both on the Sunoco side and on the Energy Transfer side, and their job is to store products, and tanker trucks come and they pick up whatever product. So, it's just funny. People have it's like one of those storage units you see at some places where people want to store stuff in their house, right? People need to store their fuel products, and we store it for them, and they come and get it. And they may come get it by boat, they may come get it by tanker truck. But in a lot of the retail locations where it's distributor, you'll have a third party contractor come to one of our terminals, and our sale is from the point of sale to their truck. And they take the product to wherever it is, one of their own customers that they have a relationship with to deliver the fuel. So I would think that you're going to see a lot of dealer distributor locations come out of this new acquisition.
Interesting. That will, I'm sure, bring a whole boatload of new claims once they get underway, and your team will be booming and busy.
Well, I mean, it's a good segue. Like, I thought in 2018, when we sold all our company operated stores, that we were going to be sitting around with less to do. And I think from a business perspective, our the operations folks were right. We don't employ these people. We don't have the workers' comp business anymore because we don't have any employees. But we still get the claims. We just don't get them in the magnitude that we got them. It's a different type of claim, right? So for us, it's very much contractually centered on everything that we do. It's not us, it's them. Here's why. Here are the contract.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that we're not in it for the long haul. It's been a challenge for me personally. I enjoy it. I like to fight and win, argue and win. This is what they say. This is what the insurance policy says. And if you don't do it, we'll sue you afterwards. And we like to win those, and we're willing to do that because those contracts, I mean, I don't mean to be mean about it, but they exist for a reason. And if you don't challenge them when they're not, adhered to, then there's no credibility. So that's been the fun part of my job.
Well, we talked a little bit before we logged on about kind of a hot topic or something that was happening in your world that you'd like to bring to our audience. And I thought what you came up with was great. And you call it the C3 strategy. Can you tell us about it?
I can. So since COVID, I think really we've been taking a different approach to what are trends in premises liability? What are we seeing, right? And what we've been seeing more frequently during that time period was a lot of criminal activity, a lot of shooting type assaults, not just at retail gas stations, but at public entities anywhere. Like, it could be restaurants, it could be motels, hotels, So we knew that other people like us, other companies like us were experiencing similar things. And I think almost every US law or every other professional conference I go to, whether the topic is nuclear verdicts or whatever, you're going to hear them say, well, the plaintiff's bar does it so much better than we do. They share their information, right? So it made us start to think about two questions. What are our competitors doing in the new premises trend environment? And we don't have to be experts. We don't have to recreate the wheel, but maybe we need to talk to each other a little bit because that's a great question. When your CEO or your CFO is sitting in a meeting and said, why are we paying this type of claim? Why are we paying so much money? What are our competitors doing? We really didn't have an answer for that question. And the second question was, how do we get better? Like if we're seeing trends and things occur, how do we get better? Maybe there's somebody doing something that we're not, right? So we came up with this concept of C3, and I'll give some kudos to Frank Gattuso, who's with Sweeney Sheehan and a member of USLAW. I started throwing the idea by him and said, we can do this. We need to start sharing information with industry-specific companies. I mean, in US law, you could be in a room with, a gas station retail client to a trucking company it's not all the same group of people. Now, you could probably cut them into categories once you're there, but in fact, I will tell you that a large percentage of the members that have gotten involved with C3 already are a number of US law companies that I already had a relationship with, but we just don't seem to have the time when we're at an event to, because it's really not the place to really just be talking claim specific. You don't have that chunk of time to do that. You know how that goes, right? So, so we started C3, and it stands for Connect, Collaborate, Change. And we just kind of threw it out to places like Wawa and Circle K and Caesars and just some off the top of my head. and said, hey, you guys be interested in having like a think tank group of people that get together and coffee talk once a quarter? And so we started putting some things on paper, and this is all started in 2025. So we had a
Nice.
kind of a leadership group of people like me that are members of US Law, that some of them are members of US Law. I said, what do you guys think? What do you think an agenda would look like? What do people want to talk about? So we went with some, friendly people that we knew would be buying into the concept, and it was very well received. And then we had our first all group C3 meeting in May, and it's an hour long. So we're going to do an hour every quarter is the concept, a
Okay.
virtual. So it's a virtual coffee
Mhm.
talk meeting of industry colleagues, and then depending on how that relationship goes, we feel like by the end of the year, we may want to get together in person if it evolves to that, and we have an on-site meeting somewhere, and we can figure that out. So that's the concept. It's just setting aside some time once a quarter to talk about what's happening. At the end of each meeting, we kind of open the floor up to say, anybody have any topics you want to talk about next quarter? What are you working on? What's pressing on your docket right now? And so I can tell you after the first meeting, some of those topics were um, transportation. They wanted to talk about that. We talked a little bit about security experts in the premises world, whether it be, we have different types of retail locations. So we circulated a bunch of CVs on who people have used for trial, which was really that, again, kind of copying the plaintiff's bar, since they seem to have every deposition our people have ever given.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just like, we can get better at this and sharing information. But it's not like anybody's an expert. We're just sitting there saying, this is what we're seeing. This is what we do. And in that first meeting, I had somebody send me a standalone insurance policy written out of London that we could consider for our dealers who tend to be underinsured. Of course, our company has a huge retention limit. So with some of these criminal acts of third parties where people die, unfortunately, a lot of times you find yourself at the table because there's not enough insurance. So
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out how we address that. So I mean, I thought that was awesome. I mean, that was a huge takeaway. So I know I'm kind of like rambling, but the idea, not so much the specifics of the details that I share with you guys today, but just the idea that you can get some really smart people in your industry to get together. I mean, these are all like, directors of insurance, and we have in-house attorneys, and we're encouraging them to bring other people in with them. So I know our company, we have a very good relationship between our insurance group and our in-house legal group. Some companies, it's very territorial. They don't want you taking their work, whose work is it, kind of thing. Ours is not that way. And a lot of the people in the room said the same thing. If your legal team and your insurance team in today's society are not on the same page, you're going to struggle, right? So
Yeah.
Totally.
we had two in-house lawyers and myself, my paralegal was on the call. There's just a lot to learn by listening to what other people go through. And even if you don't have it now, there's maybe something down the road you run into, and you're going to be able to pick up the phone and reach out to somebody that's lived it already.
Well, I love the idea because, and I don't mean to downplay it, but it's simple, right? I mean, you're talking about just what's happening to you specifically. And I think sometimes the holdup, because I agree with you, Jenny, people talk about this over and over and over again. We don't share. The plaintiff bar does it so much better. Um, but I think that sometimes we get too caught up and we need to have a database and we need to do this, that, and the other. And that always falls flat. I mean, I've never seen it be ultra successful with the exception of like one group who's doing it. But starting where you're starting is exactly the right place. Get these people bought in, start sharing that information. Gosh, I just think it's a fabulous idea. And I hope y'all end up with a year-end in-person meeting. That would be fantastic.
We did something similar at the retail US Law meeting in Fort Lauderdale, where I actually got sucked in at the end to be one of the moderators of it, but we just did clients only, and it evolved into that discussion. We talked a little bit about this collaboration, and claims people, lawyers can talk about this stuff till all hours of the morning, right? So,
Yeah.
but it was great, and it was a much bigger audience than I would have liked, but I actually kind of envision, because so many people are US law members that are in this group, and there's a lot of good ones, like it would almost be beneficial to US law too, for the people that aren't in that group, but to be able to expand a day at the end of US law or before, where we use that as our meeting, since over half of them are going to be going there or leaving there anyway,
Yeah.
to use that as the meeting place. But I think US law could actually perhaps, look at the model and see if the people in house, just look at that 100 people or whatever that was at the retail thing, and divided it up into a 1 hour segment divided by
Yeah.
business, model or industry. That's just something to think about. I mean, everybody cares about what's in front of them, right, at this
Yeah.
time. It's only real when you experience it, I guess. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, how do I fix this,
You're right, right. Then you're searching for answers and no one's around.
That's why I
Um,
think, I mean, having that intentional conversation, I think, is a big part of it. And I think what you just brought up too, Jenny, kind of in your team working on it, it's an important piece of it. It's just dedicating the time, saying, no, we're going to take a half an hour to an hour to have that conversation. And I think there's a lot of different areas, whether it's the products liability space, the trucking space, all of that, even from the attorney side too, that just having that intentional time spent talking about those issues, you just take so much out of it. And so we certainly commend you for it. And the good news is we know exactly who to talk to at US Law to
yeah.
make that potentially happen. So we will pass it up the flagpole, so to speak.
Well, I'll end it like with this, is like, I've been doing this a long time, and I kind of joke
Yeah.
around about retiring someday, although I don't know what I would do because we're always doing 100 things. But it's like, how do we get better? This concept of what's your
Right.
legacy going to be? I mean, you guys ever thought about that? Like, we all do the same thing. I mean, it's like
Right.
postal work almost, right? I mean, the process, the steps, and it's like, what do I want to leave to this area? And like, how do we get better is something that I think your legacy can be about approaches to some of these things, and how to, communicate better, and how you can be more successful, even internally as a company or as a law firm, on how you communicate, how you onboard new employees. And, because, risk in legal lawsuits are all reduced when we do things correctly and we don't have things happen. So they will happen, but so that's part of my drive, is to say, what can I do to make this space better before I decide to go sit on the beach somewhere?
Now, speaking of beach, you mentioned earlier that that's sort of your happy place, your vacation spot. Is it always the Jersey Shore, or are you bouncing around?
So I'll tell you a little secret here, that when I was in college, actually, my summer job, I was what they call a beach tag checker. And so if you don't live in New Jersey or you don't have beach tags, they charge in certain towns to go on the beach. You have to have a tag to be on there. So my
Oh,
summer
Okay.
job, when I was a college athlete too, so you don't get better than walking in the sand up and down the beach for 8 hours in a day. I had the best legs ever that year, for sure. Um, but I did that for a few years actually, and then at night I would work at a local restaurant, seafood restaurant. And so my family's from down the South Jersey Shore, Cape May, if you ever look it up. And so my heart is always in Cape May, but the Northeast is cold. And so we're at that point in our lives, my husband and I, where we may be 6 months in warm, or, kind of split our time, or, we'll see. I've made that decision. I guess I have a little bit of time to do that, but I would love to be warm all year long if that's a possibility. So,
Well, come on down. It's warm in Dothan. We are 90 miles from what I think is the most beautiful beaches really that I've ever seen in the world, but that's at the Emerald Coast, right on the Florida Panhandle.
my
It's just
husband was just
beautiful.
having this conversation with one of his colleagues, and he's like, "It's Alabama, right? You're from Alabama? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?"
yeah, yeah.
And like, I would love to go to Alabama. I had a trial come up. It settled like the last day. It was with your firm too. Tommy couldn't handle it, so it was somebody in another office, and we literally settled it for pennies. But right before, we were like, my flight was booked. I was coming in.
Wow,
Um,
so
but
close.
but I would love to see your beaches someday. So I'll make that on my to-do list.
Put it on your to-do list for sure.
And then North Dakota too, Nick. I'm not leaving you out. I think I'll have to dress warmer, but
It's not for everyone. Okay, it's cold a lot parts of the year, so I don't think it's within the retirement realm for you, Jenny, of places to go. But Lake Superior, if you go up north in the summertime, is beautiful. So that's the biggest body of water I think we can get to close to here.
all right. Sounds good.
Funny. Jenny, do I remember that you had a son who maybe got married last year?
I did. So I have two boys, Ryan and Matt. Ryan is the older one, is an attorney in Philadelphia. So it's interesting. We're much closer now because he finally realizes that maybe I know something. I know what I'm talking about. So
no, not your parents. They don't know anything.
so he's doing great. He just was named of counsel for this firm. So he's 5 or 6 years in. So he's in the grunt part of that process. He's got a serious girlfriend. We're waiting for see what happens with that. It seems to be going in a good direction. And then my youngest got married. It'll be 2 years in September, and he's got a pretty cool job too. He's the broadcaster for the Philadelphia 76ers. He does their radio and their TV down for their minor league team in Delaware, the Delaware Bluecoats. So
cool.
So he's cool. You see that Matt Murphy, look him up. And so they're both doing well. So we're there's a little talk about maybe babies at some point, but just my
That's
life.
what I was just about to ask. Are you putting the grandmother pressure
I
on?
don't know. I feel like, do I look like a grandma yet? I mean, loving
No, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Your oldest, what type of law is he practicing, Jenny?
He actually worked with Frank Gattuso as a clerk. He went to Rutgers, which is in New Jersey, and worked for Frank for a couple years. And he's doing civil defense in a firm. He does PA New Jersey work. So that's the other thing about if we move out of the Northeast is that my son says he'll never take another bar exam. When he graduated law school, they decided they were going to do a money grab and split New Jersey and PA in 2 separate tests, 6 months apart, versus doing them on the weekend. So that was the whole purpose, was really to get another fee out of it. And he says, if you move to Florida, I'm never taking another bar exam, and I'm lawyer up here, so come visit me.
That's funny. Well, Jenny, thank you very much for your time today. We so enjoyed getting to spend some time with you and hearing a little bit more about you. And
I appreciate it. I'm sorry if I was overly chatty, but I like you guys. They're easy to talk to. And if I can ever do anything for y'all, please reach out anytime.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you in June in Quebec. And thanks again, everyone, for listening to another episode of US Law Live.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of US Law Live. Stay tuned for more great conversations on US Law Live. To learn more about the US Law Network, visit us at uslaw.org.